Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Melanie Brown and this is Museums with Mel. Join me on a global tour of museums and photo exhibitions where I celebrate art and culture from around the world. For episode 4 of Museums with Mel, we're back at the High Museum of Art in Atlanta, Georgia, where I just viewed Tyler Mitchell's newest exhibition entitled Idyllic Space. So if you're not familiar with Tyler Mitchell's work, just remember a time in about 2018 where Beyonce graced the cover of Vogue magazine. She had the beautiful flowers in her hair and it was an outdoor scenic area. Well, those photos were made by Tyler Mitchell, which made him also the first Black photographer to shoot the cover of Vogue magazine in their 120 something years of existence. So that's pretty crazy. I believe he was the youngest as well. But yeah, that's Tyler Mitchell if you're not familiar with who he is and his work. Not only did I get to view the show, but I also attended the artist talk where I got to learn more about Tyler Mitchell's practice as a photographer and also his inspiration behind his work. Mitchell's work is heavily inspired by the landscape, and that's very prominent in his work. One word that was used during the artist talk was that his work is very atmospheric, and I think that's the perfect word to use. You can feel the humidity in his pictures. You can feel the joy that the subjects are having, whether they're playing a kid game, hula hoops, or things like that, or they're just out sunbathing. You can feel all those things through his work, and I think that he does a great job of portraying those atmospheric, he engages your senses with his work. It's the best way that I can explain it. So whether that be feeling the humidity coming from the landscape, as I mentioned, or feeling the sensation of ice cream melting down your hand. I also think that the way that the show is installed also gives way to engage the audience or engage the viewer with those sensory points. For instance, he has a short film, and the way that you experience the short film is that you lay on these bean bags and you look up at the ceiling, and during the short film there's clips of, I mentioned, ice cream melting. So it's kind of as if the ice cream is kind of gonna hit you in the face or melt on you. So I don't know, I really love that aspect of bringing in the viewer into the work and kind of making you feel like you're maybe almost there when he was taking the pictures, or you're experiencing the same thing that his subjects are experiencing when they're doing the action that's going on in the film or in the photos. So I do love that aspect of the installation as well. As you move through the themes of landscape and kind of these outdoor scenic vibes in the show, you go into more of the family and lineage section of his exhibition, which I think is also prominent in his work as well. I love this room the most, I think, just because I love themes of family and lineage and things like that. So I loved he had this installation right in the middle where it was kind of I guess window panes, and they moved and it was all family portraits. I thought that was really beautiful, in a way of I don't know, bringing those images to life in a different way other than them just being on the wall, which is fine as well, but that's just a way that we always see photos presented. So that was a new and fun way to have his work presented that engaged the audience, because you can also go into it and kind of experience it in a loop, or you can see it from the back. So it just gave you a different perspective on the work. He also had a mirror, an aged mirror that had family photos on it, and it was very reminiscent of things that I've seen in my family home as well. So I really enjoyed those aspects of the familiar feeling of all of his work, and especially the family photos. So I was really happy that I got to attend the artist talk. It was with Tyler Mitchell and writer Imani Perry, and then it was moderated by one of the assistant curators of photography at the High, Maria Kelly. I was able to learn a lot about his process and just I love to hear how he talked about the tactility of photographs. So it's not just about how, what's the subject of the photograph, but also how it's installed that gives new meaning to it and also connects the viewer. And I think that that's like so true. It's like kind of like one of those things like now that you say it, you're so right, And I think that he does a good job of kind of evoking that in his work because of the way that he does install. Like for instance, some of the frames were like handmade by him, and like the carvings on it, he did that himself. So it shows that he really put intention into not just the photographs, but the way that they're being experienced by the viewer, which I love and I appreciate because it is, a show that has a really good viewing experience as you're walking through. I mean, every single room, every corner you turn, you're kind of getting like a new feeling, and you're getting like a wow, or you're getting a familiar like, oh, I remember that, my mom or my grandmother having, this thing by their bedside. And I think, the way that he installed the work also speaks to the subjects of the work and, southern landscapes and family lineage and things like that. I also didn't know that he had a background in like cinematography and filmmaking. So it makes sense because as he's making these photos, he's looking at the subjects as actors. So he's collaborating basically on a set to create this scene or create this image. So I thought that was really interesting to learn about him because I didn't know. That's why your photos have so much collaboration. And he talked about how, like, for instance, one of the images called redlining, where he actually drew those red lines onto the landscape. It wasn't something that he did in post. And it's like, to do something like that, you need a team, So I love to hear about his collaborative spirit and like how he basically are viewing each subject as like actors in this like mini one photo movie that he's like putting together. So that was cool. Trend that I've been seeing in the photo world is printing on cloth or like printing on some type of fabric. I think that Tyler Mitchell, his use of that in this show, I think it brought everything together. It brought the playfulness of the front room and like the southern landscapes and the children and the people playing, kind of like these childlike elements, but bringing it in with the clothesline and having that element be like what you walk out, the last room that you walk out of. And it's like bringing in those familiar moments of like drying clothes on a clothing line, but also having those like playful moments of like iridescent type fabrics blowing in the wind where you're still seeing a stellar, amazing image. So I love that aspect. It was kind of like the last section of the show, and I think that it was a great way of tying in those themes, or all the themes of his work. Alright guys, so Tyler Mitchell's Idyllic Space will be up at the High Museum of Art in Atlanta, Georgia until December 1st. Do you guys think that you'll have time to make it? You should. I think you should experience this. Let me know if you do. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And see you guys on the next episode of Museums with Mel. Bye.
I have to go, not to see the images of the show.